Everybody ready?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you guys being here. It was good compete day for us. A little bit less work for the first couple groups today, but heavy in the game situation. Tying some special teams into it. Got some 2-minute drills, some 4-minute drills. You had officials out. Just making sure that we're clean in our function of throughout the course of the game. Tried to create some timing situations where we had to be efficient. Just in our communication as a staff, where we had to go out there and execute as a team. I thought for the most part, guys were able to take things that we've walked through, things that we've talked about, and apply it well, in those moments. But got a lot of good work for guys that are newcomers, guys that are kind of in the depth, that are trying to show that they're ready to help make an impact. And I thought there was some good performances, or some explosive plays, really on both sides. Some guys that really got to continue to elevate as they're going through these next couple of weeks of practice. But I thought all in all it was today accomplished what we needed to accomplish, and be a lot of good film for us to watch and be able to go off of. But we've been able to accomplish a lot in these first 2.5 weeks of fall camp, and I think we've got a great sense of kind of where we are, and the guys that are going to put themselves in a really good position to play here on the 30th. And now it's time to continue to elevate our game efficiency, communication, and be ready for whatever we might see here when Alabama comes into town. So definitely proud of the work that our guys have put in, and I thought today was a very effective day.
First question will be Chris.
When you return to the field, do you turn full-fledged towards Alabama, or is it still kind of a mix of preseason?
There'll be a couple, probably one day that I want to hit probably more special teams situations that could arise. There's still a couple units that we just need to finalize. I wanted to get to where we are today. I'm going to be able to come out of this weekend and have a pretty good sense of the guys that will be active and ready to roll in the game, and make sure that our depth chart on special teams is where it needs to be, and be able to tie that together with with some of those specific units. And so so we will have Monday will be a special teams emphasis, but also get an opportunity to continue to clean up on some of the we'll have another 2-minute situation. We'll have a couple other. We'll give a brief introduction into Alabama, and then come Tuesday, I mean it's game week in our mindset. We're gonna go and continue to focus. We'll have our speed. We'll still get good on good speed work, just like we've always done throughout the course of the week of practice. And then there obviously be a huge focus on what we might see from our first opponent.
You mentioned explosive plays on both sides of the ball. Anybody in particular that really stood out, and there have been guys making these plays consistently that you've seen the last few weeks?
Yeah, I thought when we got into some of the live periods, I thought Tay Kelsey hit a big touchdown today. He's been limited a few times during camp, but I mean he's a guy I'm excited about. We'll see exactly what that role is going to look like here early in the season. But he got opportunity, and I thought he did a really nice job. With that, Charles Lester, I mean, I saw him flash on a couple plays today. It was good. We got, Gavin Blackwell's kind of been, he's been limited for about the last week and a half, 2 weeks. And so today was the first day that he got back out into a team setting, was able to do some good things. Landon Thomas said we had a kind of a late summer injury that has had him limited leading up to basically today was his first time getting out there, and he made a couple of spectacular plays. In the work that we had, you really feel in the presence. I think Jason Jenkins is continuing to you see the confidence that's growing in him. I really like what I'm seeing from our linebacker position. Some young DBs that are trying to establish themselves and put themselves strong in the rotation. And so it's been it's been good work, but, you know, I thought there were some good plays that showed up today.
Brendan?
From a health standpoint, as you guys are kind of closing the chapter on camp, how are you doing? Is there anyone who you know right now wouldn't be available for the season?
No, I mean, right now, there'll be a couple that'll probably be game week, you know, thought process. You know, Squirrel had something that, you know, came up, so we're feeling very confident that he will be available, but he'll probably be limited here this next week. You know, Kevin Wynn will be, he's one that, you know, we'll see exactly where things go with that, but that could be one that could stretch, you know, a little bit. You know, have something happen here this last week, but you know, we'll kind of see as it goes. I like where we're heading with our team from a health standpoint, and we'll be able to get a couple guys back today. I think we'll plan to get a few more guys, you know, back to full participation. But even in the limited return to play, I mean, it's been good to see where they're at. So, you know, expecting. Yeah, I know with Brock, you know, he's been limited you know, throughout fall camp, but expecting him, you know, this week, and you know, having him back in the mix will be good. Been really pleased with what I've seen out of that room in general. I think Tommy's continuing to grow his confidence in what he's doing, his operation. You know, has made some great throws, some really nice plays. You know, just in general. I think Kevin Sperry, you know, with the extra reps that he's been able to get through fall camp, has really, you know, also accelerated his process of you know, just understanding, and you know, really pleased with what I'm seeing from him as well.
Ira?
When we were talking to Coach Sertan a couple days ago, he said that the competition at corner is still ongoing. Is that would you qualify that as a good thing, that you've got a lot of guys competing that can play, or is it more of a concern that it hasn't?
No, I mean, I think there's been, you know, in all reality, like, we've had some really good corners here, and you know, even with the guys that have been the surefire starters. I mean, Zari Thomas's freshman year came in and played, you know, over 400 snaps, you know, for our team, and so you know, you're gonna need guys that put themselves in a position to come in and help impact our football team. And I think that we've seen some guys that are making a great push. And you know, you've got Q, you've got Jabril, who you know, been in the program, have been able to play, have been able to do some good things. You got, you know, I know I mentioned Charles, Kai Bates, you know, guys that are developing. And you know, you look at Jerry. You know, Jerry's got a lot of experience, and I think he's kind of put himself in a position where that's a guy that's really established us. I mean, he's got a chance to be a top playmaker in this defense. But you know, we're gonna play. You know, we're gonna play a couple of them, and so I think that there is a healthy competition. And then seeing guys like, you know, Shamar's come in and been able to really do some good things. And today I wanted to see some more extensive work from him. And you know, I thought you know, there's one play that, you know, yeah, I'd like to be better in, but you know, I've seen a lot of great flashes from him, and I think he's going to be somebody that, as a true freshman, is going to get a chance to help our team. So you know, it's just, you know, what guys are defining their roles, and you know, there is a lot of competition, which is a good thing for us. And we'll see who continues in the next couple of weeks to you know, separate themselves. You know, and that's going to show up in the overall snap count.
Go to Matt, front row on your left.
You started talking about Alabama. How do you kind of prepare for a quarterback who's never started and doesn't have that much film out there? Do you look at high school film, or how do you kind of?
Yeah, I mean, he's played a little bit, but I mean, you always take a look at, you know, at any your previous experience on the field, and you know, as a high school quarterback, you'll take a glimpse of that. But I mean, he's been in their program for a good while. You know, he's developed. I mean, he is you got a lot of respect for Ty. Like, when I was at Memphis, you know, obviously his dad was coach, you know, up at you know, UT Martin, a great coach. You know, he's a football family. I mean, he's a really good football player, and you know, he's kind of waited his time and for the opportunity. And so, you know, I've got a good sense of, you know, how talented he was coming out, and you know, I know they're really pleased with the way that he's developed.
Chris?
What position needs to take the biggest step forward from a depth standpoint in the next 2 weeks?
You know, I think I like I like the strides we've taken, you know, in both of the offensive and defensive line. I think that, you know, guys are showing, you know, that we have some versatility, but we also have some guys that, you know, I think got a chance to be, you know, A players. And, you know, but to be able to have a good rotation there, we know it's gonna show up in that first game. I mean, you gotta go out there and, you know, it's gonna be a 3:30 kickoff, and we're gonna get as many plays as we can get out of it, yeah, out of each guy. And you know, that conditioning level is big, and we've had a strong focus on that. But you know, your depth has to be on point. And you know, I think that there's still some battles just of exactly what it's gonna look like. You're there at the receiver position. You know, who's gonna you know, we got a really good sense of the kind of the top guys of what that's looking like. But you know, who's gonna also be able to get out there and be able to make the impact within that group. And you know, but I think for most positions it's kind of establishing itself. And you know, on the offensive line, I like the versatility. You know, getting Rizzy back is huge. I think that adds such a great component to the competition. And you know, we're still working to see, you know, who's going to be the first five, you know, as we kick off there, you know, in August. And you know, I know that he's thrown himself right in the conversation. And you know, we got a good battle here these next couple weeks, but I feel good about the depth that we have there and some of the versatility with those guys as well.
Corey?
We've heard a lot about the Desir twins, obviously, but they're always kind of talked about as like one in, like the twins do this well, the twins do that well. Is there one that's maybe stood out or does something maybe, I don't even say closer to being ready to play, but what are the differences?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'd say right now just they can both do a good variety of things in alignment and where they play. I think, you know, Mandrell, you know, he's one that you talk about like almost exceeding expectations of just the way that he's able to play, whether it's inside or outside, the way that his body can bend and, you know, to fight pressure, to be able to get off blocks. I mean, you really, I've been so pleased with what I've seen from him. Still some things he's got to grow in. You know, obviously being a true freshman, you know, throughout the course of it. But I'm excited about what that looks like and what it's been. I think Darryl, you know, has been more on the edge, and you know, I think that he can, you know, he'll have the ability to be able to move around on it within the defensive front. But you know, he's very explosive, and I mean, you feel him as a pass rusher. You feel him in the way that he chases, you know, plays with physicality. But you know, those guys they are referenced together so much, and I mean, there's not a huge separation, but because I think they're referenced together because there are the versatility of what they both can do. And so, I mean, I'm excited about the potential that they have, but this is gonna be a big couple weeks for them as we get close to the game time.
We got time for two more, Ira?
With getting Landon back, just what kind of freedom does that bring if you have all those guys, or most of those guys available? What does that do for just the options on offense?
I mean, it's, you know, I think it gives us great flexibility within personnel groupings, where guys are lining up, how they're playing. I mean, you know, you look at that position, and you know, with Randy, Amari, Landon, you know, Marquiston, you know, it's really allowed us, even with you know, with Chase Lofton, to play him. You know, he's another freshman that I'm huge expectations for, and you know, he's really come along, and so we're even able to line him up at all different places. You know, he's got a great skill set, can line up a receiver if he ever needs to move around. So having those guys have allowed you know, a lot of different ways in how we can you know, put together personnel packages, and you know, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from that position. I love the depth. I love the you know, the playmaking and the physicality that they show.
Anything else? All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.